The Intercept with a brilliant article out showing you a document that they found where a Nancy Pelosi aide, less than a month after the Democrats won the election, went to talk to Blue Cross Blue Shield and assured them, don't worry, we are not going to do Medicare for all. Wow. So let me give you some quotes. Nancy Pelosi advisor Wendell Primus detailed 5 objections to Medicare for all and said that Democrats would be allies to the insurance industry in the fight against single-payer health care. Primus pitched the insurers on supporting Democrats on efforts to shrink drug prices. So basically they're doing a deal. Look, these are the insurance companies. They're saying we're gonna try to lower the price of the drug companies. If you help us with that, we're not gonna do Medicare for all at all, single payers out the window, etc. Now understand, it is not the insurance companies' lobbyists giving a pitch to Nancy Pelosi's office about why single payer is bad. It's Nancy Pelosi's office giving a pitch to the insurance companies saying, don't worry, this is how the Democrats are gonna fight on your behalf to defeat this progressive policy priority. I told you, Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic leadership, they're not on your side. They're not progressives. In fact, and the establishment, if you're looking for the big mystery, because you guys are always so confused when we don't support Nancy Pelosi or Democratic leadership. Why not? They're on your team. Look, they're not on our team. They're on Team Blue Cross Blue Shield. They do not want to do progressive policies. What part of that is confusing? If they were on my team, of course I would support them. But they are working for these corporate interests. So let me give you more details. So when caught, Henry Connolly, a spokesperson for Pelosi, had this great line: we're not going to barter lower prescription drug costs for inaction in the rest of the healthcare industry. In other words, that's exactly what they're doing. That's the whole point of this presentation. We're gonna barter, we're gonna trade. So to be fair to Pelosi and the Democrats, they think, hey, listen, we can't do too much. They always think that. So we got to take things one tiny sliver at a time, even though overwhelming majority of the country, 70s now, another poll has it at 76% of the country is in favor of Medicare for all, including a majority of Republicans. No, too early and too much. Instead, we're gonna try to lower drug prices. Now, if they lower drug prices, that's a good thing, I'm happy about that. But if it's so that they could barter away Medicare for all, no deal, not remotely interested. One of the things they explained in their conclusions was that, hey guys, you have to support us on this. That's not a hard sell. You're telling them you're gonna do what they want. Anyway, they say tax cuts cannot survive given the country's demographics. They don't say that they're against the tax cuts for the rich. They say, well, unfortunately, the framing appears to be that they can't survive because of the country's demographics. I mean, we'd love to give you everything you ever wanted, but that part might not survive because of the demographics. Later, they'll turn around and try to hide behind minorities. But for now, they're like, demographics, that's code word for minorities. There's more minorities, so the tax cuts aren't gonna work. Sorry, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Okay, that's a small part of it. Now let's go to Nancy Pelosi's statements from 2017. Does she really care about single payer? Well, she said, I was carrying around single payer signs probably before you were born. So I understand that aspiration. Well, you've been carrying around the signs since before I was born. How's that going for you? You know, you're 78 years old. It's not about ageism. I support Bernie Sanders, similar age. Pelosi's a little older, but I have no problem as long as you're on the right side of policies. But if you say to me, I've been fighting for this, but I'm not gonna do it now, when you're Speaker of the House and you have power and the Democrats are in charge, I'm gonna do it way later at a different time and it's an aspiration. When are you gonna do it? When you're 98? You're not gonna do it. Why don't you just say it? More quotes from her. This is an idea that if we had a tabula rasa, if we were just starting clean, would be the most cost-effective way to go forward. We don't have that. In other words, since we're not starting clean, when do you ever start clean on any policy? That is a preposterous thing to say. Are we starting clean on taxes, on crime? You name a policy, of course we can't start clean because the world is continuing. That's how legislation works. You never have a clean slate. But she's like, since we don't have a clean slate here, we don't have that, we're not gonna do it. She's perfectly clear. She said, we're gonna have hearings on Medicare for all. She put it in the budget committee, which does not have power to introduce Medicare for all. You think that's an accident? She calls herself a master legislator. That's not an accident. She doesn't want Medicare for all, but now this is proof and evidence anyway. One last quote from her. She said, the comfort level with a broader base of the American people is not there yet. Let's take the lower, don't take 76%, take the poll at 70%. 70% of the country wants Medicare for all. How comfortable do you need them to be? Do you need 80%? Do you need 90%? No, what she's saying is, my corporate donors are not comfortable with it, so we will not be doing it. When they asked her why you should be Speaker of the House, she brazenly said because she raises the most amount of money. So her donors not being happy with it is critical to her career, and that's what she cares about. Your priorities, being progressive, hilarious. Now, most importantly, the slide where they talk about single payer. Pelosi's advisor gave the insurance companies 5 different reasons why a single payer won't work and they're against it. So they said cost, well that doesn't mention that it actually saves money. So this is doing the Republican and corporate interests for them. Number 2, creates winners and losers. That's right, it creates the winner of the American people and the loser of Blue Cross Blue Shield, who you're talking to and begging for money from, okay? The stakeholders are against, that is the most brazen one. You know what that means? Stakeholders does not mean voters, it means donors and other interests. Now, if you're talking about public interest groups, they're for it. If you're talking about the nurses union, they're for it. If you're talking about anybody who cares about healthcare in the country, they're for it. When you say stakeholders, you mean my rich donors are against it. I'm not gonna do it. That is unbelievably brazen. And the last 2 were, monies are needed for other priorities. Really, what's the big other priorities you're fighting for? Show me the other progressive priorities you're fighting tooth and nail for, and then I might begin to believe that, but you're not prioritizing that. And finally, implementation challenges. Yes, I've got news for you, Nancy Pelosi. There are implementation challenges to every new bill, including the Affordable Care Act. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do them. So unfortunately, this shows you what we were afraid of. And we assess this based on their track record. We know that they didn't fight for single payer. We know they don't want single payer, but now we have absolute confirmation where they go tell the insurance companies, don't worry, we will defeat progressive priorities. And look, establishment press, if you're still confused, you're really bad at your job. Progressives do not agree with Nancy Pelosi and Democratic leadership because they work against us, not for us. They work for their donors. That is the corruption that runs Democratic leadership. That's what we can't stand. Well, we're gonna fight back against it, and we're gonna get Medicare for all, whether Nancy Pelosi or Primus or any of our other aides or any of the other leaders, Chuck Schumer, name them. You're all against it, we don't care. If we gotta run you over to get it, we're gonna run you over. And then you can go and cry to Blue Cross Blue Shield. Oh my God, the voters were so unfair to us. Don't worry, because they'll hire you and you'll have a very comfortable retirement. Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.